When you look back, at some of your former teammates, are there any, not even necessarily pertaining to basketball, but are there any big life lessons that just stick out like a sore thumb to you, in terms of things that you've picked up along the way from some of those guys in terms of, being a happier person?
Well, I wouldn't exactly say I'm a happier person. I've never, I've battled depression in my life. It's pretty well documented, and the smallest things made me feel good. If if I go out and play games that, maybe some other people weren't capable of at that point in their lives, um, I felt good about it if we won. If we lost, it meant nothing. And I bet probably the best lessons I think I've ever learned in my life is when I was growing up. When I grew up, there wasn't much hope. People went to high school, they got married and had kids, and they worked for the coal mines. That's not who I was at all. My mind was not like that. I could have never worked in a coal mine. And somewhere along the way, I was given a gift and kind of a determination to try to live my dreams. And I was a dreamer. I still am a dreamer. I still believe in goal setting. Goals have to be a lot more successful. I mean, a lot more um, hmm, flexible today than ever before because of the dynamics, the way the world has changed. But I remember as a kid that I'd build these old basketball things and I'd put them up on the side of a tree or something like that. And they weren't very pretty, but they at least had a hoop. And I would go out there and play all these mind games. And I could tell myself that I was going to make a last second shot. I could miss it 10 times and find a way to put a second back on the shot clock and make a shot. I also learned one thing really well, that because the places I shot the ball from, they weren't conventional courts. And everyone said, oh, you shot the ball in the snow. And people almost want to laugh at it, but it happens a lot to kids, and particularly in isolated areas. And it's basketball. You can learn everything about basketball. It's such a solitary sport. You don't need other people to participate. You can learn almost everything that you need to learn. Uh, Dribbling the ball, passing the ball. You can pass the ball off the board to yourself. You can pass off a tree to yourself if that be the case. And you can also learn how to shoot the ball if your fundamentals are good. But you do need some kind of a touch. But if you don't have fundamentals, you can't do that in the first place. But that's something that I was a dreamer, and I can't tell you in my life how many times I dreamed about making a last second shot, and I made a lot of them in my career. And I'd have writers to ask me how that happened. Well, I said I've done it a million times, and they would sort of laugh about it and didn't really ask me anything about it. But when I was out there playing by myself and no one liked to play basketball, the area I was on, football and baseball were the two big sports. Um, I would go out there and I would not leave until I made two or three shots at one game. I was the coach, I was the announcer, I was a referee, and also was timekeeper. That was the most important thing, being the timekeeper. I could always manage to put mentally a second or two on the shot clock. But when I came to Los Angeles and first came here, all the fans were from New York, rooting for the Knicks. And we had an announcer, a very famous announcer, Chick Hearn, who probably he started the craze of basketball with his word's eye view of the game. And he nicknamed me Mr. Clutch. That's what he nicknamed me, Mr. Clutch.
Pretty good nickname.
and it was kind of ironic because that stuck with me through my life. But I made a lot of last second shots, and something that really was thrilling to do it. And frankly, I've never really elaborated on that very much. But the reason why was because I did that as a kid. It would give me something to feel good when I went home, when I did not know what was going to happen in my house.
Yeah. That being the timekeeper is incredibly underrated. It's an underrated job.
Well, you watch how many times in basketball games today, and even with a tenth of a second up there, the kids dribble out the shot clock because they're not aware of it. But I used to, close my eyes and I'd try to replicate a second, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, just to get where it was 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and to try to do that in my mind. And listen, I was a little guy. I was 10, 11 years old. It was a feel-good thing. And sometimes there's a writer that Ann Didion, who's very famous, she said something was really amazing one time. She said, people tell themselves stories in order to live. Well, I told myself a lot of stories in my life to make me feel good about myself. And when the world around me seemed like it was crumbling.
Right. Totally. No, and it's funny, I grew up in New York City, so I didn't have full-size courts when I was super young, but I used to do the same thing on my mini hoops. I would, oh, they added 3 seconds to the clock, steps back, hits the shot, and they win. Wow. All those sorts of things. It's so fun. But you're definitely a true testament as to if you believe it and then put the work in, you can accomplish anything. And I think, the fact that you're able to do that then is unbelievable because of how much easier it is to do now. And I think that's sort of one of the great takeaways from people, extraordinary people like yourself who did it. Anybody can do anything. And I know you're a believer of that, but it sounds like dreaming is a huge part of that for you.